Japan is an ally of the United States in Asia, and history says that there has been numerous conflicts inside the South China Sea that comprises all of these nations. And Japan does not directly see the independence of Taiwan, but does give recognition to Taiwan as a sovereign state. And in this case, the tensions include that there have been bans on travel to Japan for staff at state-owned enterprises of Chinese enterprises, suspension and cancellation of Chinese tour groups to Japan. Almost 500,000 tickets have been cancelled as far as media is citing. I want to ask you the question. You are a military veteran and you understand these issues far better than me. What is your observation, and do you think that the US is trying to destabilize Asia by this kind of events?
It's a very fascinating situation, while say, because if you look at China's history in last 75 years, have China ever got involved in military actions except one with Vietnam and one in India? Other than that, they have not disturbed. Yes, China keeps on sort of showing their military strength. They try to expose their military might that they are having these days. But one thing you remember, that China will not venture on anything which will destabilize their present system. Because China would like to move slowly. That is the strategic culture of China. They are not in a hurry. Compared to US, where probably Donald Trump would like to solve all the problems in one day. Chinese are not worried about time factor. They have set up their objectives and they go slowly and gradually. So in this case also, China did not fully occupy Hong Kong. They have allowed Hong Kong to continue partly within their grip. They have allowed Hong Kong to maintain its independence to some extent, especially economic independence. Similarly, I don't think China is ever going to attack Taiwan. It doesn't require, because Taiwan's economy is to a great extent dependent on mainland China. Economically, they have very good relations.
Of course.
So why should they disturb? Because Chinese, at the end of the day, they are more interested in the economic activities rather than political one. So they will not disturb that. Now coming to the present standoff that is taking place between China and Japan, these are, to my mind, these are mostly geopolitical rhetorics. For USA, the problem is USA is trying to keep their allies warmed up, that remain with us.
Right.
Because the fear in the probably US think tanks or US elites are that probably slowly and gradually the East Asian countries will listen to what China says. China probably in about next 20-25 years will be the number one economy. Militarily probably it might take another little more time, because you see they are not making noises, but slowly and gradually they are increasing their number of aircraft carrier.
Of course, yeah, but they're the largest navy in the whole world right now, the People's Liberation Navy.
So they have a third aircraft carrier has been launched, and I read somewhere they are planning to go up to 40 aircraft carrier. That means they are going to rule all the 7 oceans that we have in the world. They slowly and gradually they are not worried of they are not worried about time factor. So they will go slow. Now, as far as these things are, these are some of the things that indicating to the Japanese that we can harm you economically. Imagine 500,000 visitors have been stopped from going to Japan. The effect
that's already a huge economic takedown.
It indicates USA has to come back to China, because let's sit down and work out tariff. Because China has come to a stage where it is extremely difficult for anybody to outrightly say no or go against them.
Of course.
Because the only country with hard cash in the world today is China.
Military confrontations and build-ups that happen on a global scale. The United States had said that any country that purchases or trades with Venezuela in crude oil will face an additional 25% tariff from the United States. And we understand how Donald Trump had changed the name of Mexico from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. That is his stance on his neighborhood. And of course, the nations in South America, Latin America were not spared from his tariff attack as well. You have Brazil dealing with 50% tariff, but that is just a general consensus. My question to you is, how do you see this military response between the United States and Venezuela? Let me just let you know before you answer that the U.S. has deployed its largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, while Venezuela is mobilizing the national military militia to resist U.S. in a guerrilla-style tactic. What is your observation?
Thank you once again. Very interesting. Will USA directly get involved in the Venezuelan politics? There are very bitter experiences. They did it in Chile long time back. End result is Chile is back to where it was. Now in Venezuela, you see, the problem is Trump is trying to whip up everybody. He is demanding that everyone should pay the due respect that is to be given to the world leader. Probably, or maybe that people have realized that the countries are slowly and gradually moving away from US dominion or US influence. Can't help it. It is going to take place.
Right.
Now, if you see the Central American countries, they have all gone against US bases. To the extent, other day there was a what do you call? There was a vote. What do you call?
Referendum.
There was a referendum whether it is in El Salvador, isn't it?
Yes, El Salvador.
That whether they should have US base is a big no. So people
the constitution of that country had said you cannot no longer bring a US base here. They changed the constitution in order to kick the US out of the country.
So that means what does it speak? That means these countries are trying to keep away themselves from the US influence.
Right.
Because probably US has been fiddling too much with their internal politics also. Now coming to Venezuela, because it is oil politics.
Right.
Now, will they? Trump is threatening that to impose more tariff. Those countries will not bother, because the oil that they will get from them will help them to probably counter that tariff. How long will Mr. Trump keep on going and imposing tariffs? Because that tariff is going to affect their people also at the end.
Of course, yes.
Because whatever is being imported, because USA is dependent on the import. Now, whatever is imported, once they impose tariff, is going to affect, well, the producer country will be affected, but then at the same time, the
consumers
buyer
are going to be affected. There's an example that I want to add on here, as well as our viewers, that 50% tariff on Brazil would also include the prices of Brazilian coffee to go up for regular American consumers. So it is a real life situation.
But then I don't know where we're going to end up. Because probably coffee which costs probably, I don't know how much, I've not been to US for quite some time. A coffee would probably costing about $4 or $5. It will jump up to $7, $8, $10.
This has huge implications for the economy at America.
So that is going to affect. So I don't know. The leaders should try to just think about it. That how will their people be affected? Leaders are not elected to go around and bossing over the world community or other countries.
Maybe that's what their fear of losing out on, especially because the rise of China cannot be ignored.
You can't help it. This is nature. This has happened in the past. Look at Britain. What is it now?
Colonialism has gone, vanished.
And probably you had a non-British Prime Minister. You may end up with another again having another non-British Prime Minister. In Scotland, the Prime Minister is a Pakistani origin. So it's a question of time. You have to, unless you realize that. That's why I say people don't learn from the history.
A situation that had happened, there was a border push-in of an Assamese individual who's, of course, in his 60s, who was pushed into Bangladesh from one of the border entries in Bangladesh. And one of the outposts near the chicken's necks, so popularly named chicken necks, have been reinforced, has reinforced military presence. I want to understand how you feel about it, given that we are now entering a new diplomatic kind of environment with India as of recent.
Thank you again. The question has two aspects. One is the verdict that was given on 17th on our ex-Prime Minister, and the second one is on the border issues that you're mentioning. Now, about the first one, India has probably realized that it's not, it is probably wastage of time for their part to deal anything with the present government, because they know that the election is taking place in February, so there will be a political government. Probably with them they will negotiate and talk. So they are keeping everything neutral. And secondly, they have probably found out that the general sentiment in Bangladesh is against the Prime Minister.
The India out policy. It's not just Bangladesh. You have Maldives, you have Sri Lanka, who historically India has had strained ties.
They thought that probably there may be some hesitation or their movement against the verdict. But you have seen nothing happened. Because generally people have accepted this verdict and they have liked the verdict. They have accepted that they said justice has been done probably. And now coming to the border situation, the chicken neck is not only for Bangladesh, because chicken neck is also connected with the Chinese.
Yes.
Because it's not far from the Chinese border. The Doklam area where there was big tension between India and China earlier on, and Chinese are already established themselves in Doklam border. They have set up that cantonment, etc. They are in Chinese way. For India, they are trying to beef up. These are not only for China, but this will also cover Bangladesh. Now, one thing, the Indo-Pakistan conflict in May and in June, Iran-Israel conflict has brought in few new things in the defense perimeter. Like, it is not what used to be 20, 30 years back. You see, what in case, say for example, there you might have heard in the Indian TV channels, etc., there have been some very, what you call, extremist views they have been talking, and there are people who are talking that take over Bangladesh or cut off this portion, cut off that portion. Well, probably you can speak up in the TV channel, etc., and YouTube. But then in reality, these things have a lot of implications. Say, for example, if India tries to cut off or take away a portion of Bangladesh in the China, around the chicken neck,
right,
will Bangladesh sit idle?
Of course not. That is, of course not. There is no other answer.
In today's world, in today's scenario, you do not need very costly equipment. You have resources which can affect India. Because it's going to be a sort of, I don't know what is the Bangladesh preparation, but Bangladeshi people must have taken care of some of the issues. Because they must have taken lesson from the Indo-Pak war that took place. So it's not going to be that easy, because if India slaps or puts attacks Bangladesh or takes away, yes, such a big country, Bangladesh, small country area wise, they can probably militarily they can take. But then if Bangladesh hits back, it's going to cost India more.
It will cause the division of India between the seven sisters as well. We can always try that strategy.
There are a lot of implications. Will India ever learn to take that sort of stance? What will happen if India tries to cut through or attack Bangladesh? How will Bangladesh friends react?
Right.
Bangladesh does have friends who will probably come up in a big way to help Bangladesh. So those are the equations that India have to carry out before do that. But why should they do it? Because I personally feel that it is mutually beneficial for India and Bangladesh if they can work on mutual connectivity. Not the way they have been doing in the past, taking everything
almost 15 years,
not giving to Bangladesh. But if allow, so what Bangladesh want? Probably Bangladesh want that free throw access to Bhutan, to Nepal. Pakistan is too far, fine, will not. They said 1,000 miles. But then with Bhutan and Nepal, they should allow the Nepalis to use our ports. Bhutan, they should all Bhutan to use our port. So it can be mutually beneficial if India wants. It's for them to decide. It can be very beneficial because after all, because these northeastern states are dependent on us.